Today is Sunday, August 27th, and here is your farm garden tour. We have farm dog. We have our Nakota potatoes. They are all still green in and amongst the weeds, so they are staying in the ground because it's the best place for them. The beans are still producing, although they have slowed down quite a bit, as is to be expected at this time of year. You can see we've still got blossoms, which means more beans are coming. I'll show you what we harvested off of the beans. You'll see that they're slowing down, but it's nice to still get some beans, even at this time of year. We have our name for you for our big purple. We've been calling them big purple this whole time. There's some more blossoms. Still blooming. These are the ones down here that we've been talking about all year with the great big purple beans that are inside the pods. And the bright orange blossoms are called scarlet runner beans. And I've got a couple broken open on the picnic table to show you in a little bit, but these things are just huge. And we're reading some reviews on them. The lady my mom got them from said that she uses them just as a privacy fence between herself and her neighbor, and doesn't really harvest or eat any of these. Now, we did try eating some of them when they were very small, and they were okay. The outside is it's got an interesting texture. It's a little fuzzy. And at this point, these pods are so tough. They're very, very stringy. So we were talking about letting these dry out here on the vines and then shelling the beans and seeing if there's anything that we can make out of them. If nothing else, we can make something pretty. There's Uncle Ralph. Hey, Uncle Ralph, honk, honk. All right, so let's switch over here. We had picked all these potatoes previously, and we're just letting the ground kind of do its thing. Super excited about this. I didn't bring any of the beans with me, so
we'll have to pick some.
Yeah, you want to grab a kidney bean, and these are drying nicely on the plants. And I'm excited because we show you here. It's super exciting when you pop these open and you're like, oh my goodness, it does actually look like a kidney bean. Why that's a crazy thing for me, knowing that we planted kidney beans, I don't know, but never grown them before. So for me, it was exciting to have these popped open and be like, yay, look at that. It actually made kidney beans. We grew kidney beans.
We did.
Yeah, and pintos. The pintos are cool. I can't wait to do something with those. These down here are the pintos. And Troy's gonna pop one open for us so you can see what those look like. The pods are a little leathery yet. Look at that. Isn't it cool? I think it's cool. But
Really cool.
I'm a self-proclaimed garden nerd, so, very, very cool. Can't wait to do something with those. So, we are at a point, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, where the weeding is just taking a back seat because we've spent nearly every weekend in the garden working on it, either planting or weeding or harvesting, and especially with everything coming on that's being harvested right now, that's where we're spending our time. So yes, there's weeds, and yes, that's the way it is. So we harvested tomatoes, and these guys are coming on strong. I would say we harvested twice as much this week as we did last.
Yep.
There's still a lot of them. I mean, those are really great looking tomatoes. They're very tasty. They're near perfect, I would say. These are the kind of tomatoes that you find in the grocery store that don't have any cracking, anything like that. They're good looking tomatoes, and they're tasty. Then we get into our heirloom tomatoes, which are not as pretty, but they're equally as tasty. Very meaty. These are mortgage lifters. They've got some cracking, they've got some issues, but we made tomato sauce this past week, and oh man, was that a cool experience. We got some real quality tomato sauce, in my opinion. Can't wait to make that into some stuff. Can't wait to see what that guy looks like when he's finally ripe. He doesn't really have too much cat facing on the bottom, but just a huge tomato. And some of these, especially on the lower branches, I picked them up off the ground to try and, help them stay off the ground and ripen in a hanging type of configuration. But it's ended up snapping a lot of these branches because the fruit is just so heavy that, they just plain break. So, these are Amish paste. And I was very pleasantly surprised with our sauce making experience. We had plans initially to make things like spaghetti sauce and all kinds of specific dishes and then can that. But we're realizing, as probably many people who've done this for many more years than we have, that the tomato sauce and like stewed tomatoes is the basis for pretty much everything we were going to make. So we're just going to do sauce and
the little ones.
Yeah. Sauce and skinless peeled tomatoes. And then, we make that into whatever it is we want to make it into. Troy just pulled some carrots. We pulled a nice looking one. We had like 6 or 7 different varieties of carrots, and some of them were little, ones that were supposed to look like little balls. So
yeah, I figured those ones would be fun for eating.
For sure. And our cherry tomatoes continue to look like a jungle. Harvesting lots off of those. And there's lots yet to come. Carrots, in general are looking good. They're not ready for a full harvest. But, there's some good looking carrots in there. And the ones that are still in the ground, they're only going to get bigger and they're only going to get better. So, got another one you're going to pull? Maybe.
That's why I pulled it.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so we continue on around here. My morning glories are in their glory. We've got the Swiss chard here in front. We've got this insane currant tomato here that continues to put on blossoms. I was actually thinking about yanking this one out too. There are some fruit ripening in and way inside and at the bottom. But the only reason I'm not is because it continues to flower and the bees are still all over this. There's one right there doing his little thing. I don't know if you can see him or not. But yeah, as long as the bees are still visiting, there's really no harm in leaving this out. The morning glories, I saw a hummingbird out here drinking from them again this morning, which is really cool. It is an absolute jungle. It's kind of a little girly fairy tale thing for me, okay? That's why I keep showing it every week. Because this is one of the things I wanted. It serves almost no purpose in my garden, aside from looking pretty, in my opinion. And, it's there for the pollinators to come and visit. And I'm kind of surprised it's about just after 4 in the afternoon and some of these are still open. But I think it's because they're on the inside and they're shaded. Anything on the outside that's being hit by the sun, oops, sorry for the finger there. Anything that's outside and being hit by the sun is already closed up. So, see, there's a little pollinator doing his thing. All right, so Joel's potato. Spaghetti squash. Duke laying in the middle of spaghetti squash. There were 2 vines that came out of that hill. One that produced these green and yellow looking spaghetti squash, and one that produced what looks like a traditional yellowish cream colored spaghetti squash. Duke, what are you doing? Eating a dead vine. Okay, well, you just go ahead and enjoy. What a dog. Yeah, the dead vines that you see there were the vines that we had the whitish yellow spaghetti squash on. Harvested all those. We'll show you those. They're on the table. Pumpkin vines are continuing to start and die off a little bit, so you can start to see how many pumpkins we really have. We picked one of these. Mom took it in and roasted it in the oven. Said it tasted pretty good, but I think for the most part they're still too early. I was digging around over there harvesting ground cherries and found a honeyboat delicata that was already disconnected on its own from the vine. So she took that inside too and roasted it, put a little butter on it, and said it was really good. So we'll probably all have a taste of that here shortly. Bless you. And the honeyboat delicata, there are so many of these things. They're just insane. We'll come over here. This is our one. Do you know what kind of squash this is?
That's a buttercup.
Buttercup. Not to be confused with butternut. Those are more shaped like the honeyboat delicatas. But yeah, here's the ground cherries are just crazy. We scooped up a whole bunch of those. And here you can kind of see the honeyboat delicatas just everywhere. And we planted 2 hills of these. So I have a feeling that these are going to be roasted and frozen or canned or sold. I don't know. Given away. Yep, left on people's front porches. Hey, you know what? Halloween. Maybe we'll give every kid a honeyboat delicata.
There we go.
That works for me.
You did say a 5-pound bag, right?
Yes, 5-pound bag. Trick or treat.
Trick. Take this one.
Watermelon. Exciting stuff. Troy, do you want to talk about the watermelon?
That's okay.
Okay. So the watermelons are looking good. They're kind of poking out from the vines. Excuse me. Picked one. We're a little leery because it was the 3rd one we've tried, but this one was ripe. It was wonderful. Juicy, not squishy. You know how they tend to get when they start to turn the corner into overripe. But the majority of these out here still need a little time. So we're leaving them out, but they are really tasty. They are definitely a variety that we will replant next year. The jalapenos look good. These have, like I said, all been harvested. Our Thai chilies are coming on like crazy. Troy read today, we don't start to harvest these until they start to turn a little bit red.
Well, they were saying we can pick them green, but they need to be full size, like, I'm not even finding one in that plant. These guys right here. Like this guy I could harvest now.
Okay.
Because it's full size. If you pick them, I guess, when they're smaller like this, they're way, way bitter.
Oh, interesting.
But they can go until the first frost. So,
right. And there's still lots of flowers on them.
And they're just loaded.
Yeah.
And I learned something while researching that as well. Even the ones that they sell that they label as decorative, those are all edible.
Oh.
100%. All Thai peppers are edible.
Interesting.
I'm glad I know that, because now I'm going to try some different ones. Now, the Thai peppers, I was reading too, though, that those are 170 day.
Okay.
So
definitely starting them earlier next year, which we've been talking about all season, really, with our peppers. The ground peaches, I'm not going to tromp over there. They're okay. They're not quite ripe in this garden. We had a couple that were ripe from our home garden. And I guess I don't think we'll plant them again. They're okay. They taste a lot like a honeydew, but a honeydew melon tends to be really firm. These are softer than a honeydew. So, do you want to do the thump test? We were making music out here the other day.
So the first thing, that one's still green, so.
That one is close to the ripe sound. I don't know if you could hear the difference
This
there.
one? And this one, look.
So you look for the vine, the little curlicue vine that's closest to the plant, the melon itself.
Right where it attaches, there's 2 leaves, and then there's a curlicue. This curlicue is dead. This curlicue is also dead and been dried for a while. But it's a little, actually, we've got a couple here we could probably pick.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what's tricky about the melon is you want to look for that dried out curlicue. You'd like to see kind of a yellowish ground spot. And the thump test is usually the third test.
Well, that just came off in my hand. So
okay. So yeah, the thump test is probably the most reliable. We do the thump test in the grocery store too. And yesterday when we were hemming and hawing about whether or not to pick it, it was like, well, we're like, if you found a melon in the grocery store that sounded like this, would you pick it? And the answer was yes. And we got lucky. It was a very good tasting watermelon. So that's that for the watermelon. I think that one's ready. I'm probably wrong, but it sure sounds ready. Maybe a day or 2 on the counter. So yeah, Goya, we harvested some of these. We realized that there were a lot more than we thought there were. They were all hiding very deep and low inside of the foliage. So we've harvested some of those. Actually, here's one that ended up, ouch, stepped on a thistle. One that ended up overripe. And these things are just so wild. I mean, look on the inside. Isn't that weird? I think it's weird. I think it's not weird. It's just crazy cool because this is obviously not something we've ever had in our garden before. So yeah, we'll show you the ones. Duke. I don't know if he's gonna eat it. No.
We were planning.
No, leave it. All right, cucamelons. They're slowing down. We're still getting harvest off of those. Cucumbers are still doing well. I couldn't be happier with this English variety that we've been growing because seeds are very small. The flesh is very firm. They keep pretty well. A lot of times you pick a cucumber out of the garden, you've got to eat it within hours, otherwise it's going to turn floppy. But I've been very happy with the cucumbers. The tomatillos are doing well. We did a pretty intensive harvest on those last weekend. Most of what's here is not ready to go yet, so we're just going to leave them to ripen a bit more. Coming down here, looking at the Brussels sprouts, the white cabbage butterflies have found them, which is not a good thing. But I think that's what helped us decide that it was time to get rid of the broccoli last weekend. We still have Brussels sprouts that we can harvest there. The marigolds did their job in preventing the white cabbage butterflies from being in here on our cabbages and on our Brussels sprouts and on our broccoli until the last 2 weeks. And then I don't know what happened, if there's something about the marigold themselves, their properties, that no longer repel the butterflies, or if this is just the season for the butterflies. But you can see how the butterflies come in, land, lay their eggs, and then their eggs chew up the leaves. So not fun, but also we're at a point in the season where we're not really going to treat for that because it's in a downward slide. Here's another view of the pumpkins from the other side. This is a slightly different variety than the ones that were on the other side. Melons! This is the kind that we picked and baked because the vines were starting to die. So, we will continue to let those sit out here and cure and ripen. The patty pan, if anybody wants patty pan, let us know. Otherwise, I think we are done harvesting these. They continue to produce like mad, but we're all kind of tired of them. So if you want patty pan, let us know. We'll pick them and bring them to you, as many as you want. Zucchini, we got a few zucchini today. I think the plants are near done though. This is a watermelon, and it's a variety that's supposed to have speckles like that, so that's pretty cool. The leaves on the plant itself are speckled, as well as the fruit itself on the outside is speckled, so that ought to be fun. See what else. All that's left is for me to come over here and show you the harvest, what all we pulled out of the garden this weekend. So here we go. Come over here to our trusty picnic table. There's some potatoes. We dug those up because the foliage was dead. These are Burbank potatoes. They're a variety of russet. Those are the zucchini. Those are the green beans. As you can see, that's slowed down quite a bit. Tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. These are all the different varieties, and we'll probably be making some stewed tomatoes and some more tomato paste, or tomato sauce, excuse me. Some cucumbers. These are the beans that are the scarlet runners. Those are huge beans. It's about the size that they were when we planted them. So, pretty. The carrot we pulled earlier, a couple of mango melons. These are the spaghetti squash. Here's a bucket of ground cherries. And Troy's bringing the watermelons over. Here are the Goya, aka bitter melon. Neat looking fruit. Those are a few snow peas. Another decent harvest on the jalapenos. And cherry tomatoes galore. And a few cucamelons over there. So that's it. I think what's neat is seeing some of the strange things your fruit do. I'm not going to say a word about this. I'll let you make your own conclusion. Weird, huh? And this is a mortgage lifter tomato. Just huge and kind of weird looking, but it tastes good, and that's what matters. So, the one thing I've been trying to remember to say in each of our videos is if you have any questions, text us, leave them in the comments section of the video, and we'll answer those questions. If you have any suggestions, leave those as well. This is why the F not farm garden, and some of the stuff that we grew is because why the F not? It's not hurting anybody, right? We'll try our hand at it, see how it works, see what we like, see what we don't, and plan our next year's garden based on those results. So leave us some comments, leave us some likes, ask questions. We'll be happy to try and answer them. Until next time, take care.